Hey there. You ready to unlock some next level confidence? We're ditching the vague self-help stuff and really diving deep into how this whole confidence thing actually works.
Yeah, and what's really cool is that confidence isn't some fixed trait you're born with, you know? It's a skill. Like learning a language or playing an instrument, you can build it over time with the right techniques.
Okay. I'm liking where this is going. So it's not about magically becoming some fearless superhero overnight. It's about building that muscle.
Right. Exactly. Every time you push past your comfort zone, even in small ways, you're essentially giving your confidence a workout.
Okay, so how do we kickstart this confidence workout? Our source mentioned something called dialogo interno, which I'm guessing translates to inner dialogue, right?
You got it. It's that constant chatter in your head. And honestly, we can be our own worst critics.
Right.
If that voice is always negative, it can seriously sabotage your confidence. But the good news is we can actually retrain it. A 2014 study from Stanford found that practicing self-affirmations, even for 5 minutes a day, led to a measurable increase in confidence and better stress management. They saw positive changes in brain activity related to self-worth.
Wait, hold on. They could actually see this in the brain.
Yeah.
That's wild. So instead of thinking, I can't do this, it's more like, this is tough, but I'm capable of giving it my best shot.
Exactly. It's about shifting from self-criticism to self-compassion. Even small tweaks in that internal dialogue create a more supportive environment for your confidence to blossom.
That makes a ton of sense. It's like we're slowly rewiring our brains to be more confident, one positive thought at a time. Our source also mentioned setting achievable goals as a key confidence builder. What's the science behind that?
Okay, so imagine you're climbing a mountain. If you're solely fixated on the daunting summit, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and want to give up. But what if you broke it down into smaller base camps? Each one you reach becomes a victory, fueling your confidence for the next climb.
Okay, I love that analogy. It's not about setting the bar low. It's about those strategic wins along the way. Those mini celebrations probably add up.
Absolutely. This idea of breaking down larger goals is actually backed by Dr. Edwin Locke's research on goal-setting theory. He found that specific, challenging, yet attainable goals significantly boost your performance. It's about finding that sweet spot, a goal that stretches you but doesn't feel completely impossible.
All right, this is all making sense, but what about the fear of failure?
hmm
That can be a major confidence killer. I know it is for me. How do we move past that?
Fear of failure is incredibly common, but here's the thing. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a vital part of it. Think of any successful person, and I guarantee they've stumbled more times than they'd care to admit. The real skill is learning to reframe those stumbles as learning opportunities, not defining moments of defeat.
So it's about changing how we view those failures. I can see how that could be a game changer, but I imagine that takes practice.
It does, but the more we normalize setbacks as part of growth, the more courage we'll have to take risks and chase our goals, even with those doubts whispering in our ears. It becomes less about avoiding failure and more about what we learn from it.
Now, our source also touched on the power of your circle, the people you surround yourself with. How does that play into confidence building?
Um, Picture yourself surrounded by people who genuinely believe in you, who cheer you on and celebrate your wins. That positive energy is incredibly powerful and can drastically impact how you view yourself and your abilities.
It's like having your own personal hype squad in your corner. Their energy is contagious, especially when facing a challenge.
Exactly. And there's research to back this up. A 2016 study from the University of Michigan found a strong link between having a solid support system and increased confidence and well-being. It's not just about feeling good, it has tangible effects on your self-perception.
Okay, we've talked about positive self-talk, goal setting, reframing failure, and the power of our tribe. What about this whole fake it till you make it thing when it comes to confidence? Any truth to that?
What's fascinating is that it works on a physiological level. When you consciously adopt a confident posture standing tall, shoulders back, chin up, it triggers actual changes in your hormone levels.
Wait, really? I had no idea it was actually changing things in my body. So we're talking about more than just looking confident. It's about influencing how we feel on the inside.
Precisely. It's like sending a signal to your brain, hey, we've got this. Studies have shown a boost in testosterone, the hormone linked to assertiveness, and a decrease in cortisol, the stress hormone, simply by holding a power pose for a couple of minutes.
That's incredible. So even if I'm feeling a bit shaky on the inside, my posture can give me that extra edge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our minds and bodies are constantly talking to each other. Sometimes tricking one can be the key to unlocking the other.
Okay, this deep dive is already blowing my mind. We've unearthed some really insightful stuff about confidence. But before we wrap up this part, I want to hear more about how to deal with those inevitable moments when our confidence takes a hit. those times when we make a mistake or face a setback. How do we bounce back from those?
You're right. Those confidence dips are going to happen. It's life, right? But it's less about avoiding setbacks and more about how we handle them. One powerful technique is reframing those moments as opportunities for growth, not just failures.
So instead of getting stuck in the blame game, it's more about asking, okay, what did I learn from this?
Precisely. When you shift from self-criticism to curiosity, you unlock a whole new perspective. Ask yourself, what could I do differently next time? Or what strengths did I use in this situation that I can leverage even more? You'd be surprised how much those small shifts can change your outlook.
It's about finding that silver lining in the cloud, which I can totally get behind. Our source also mentioned facing our fears as a confidence builder. That sounds a bit counterintuitive, doesn't it? How does that work?
It seems counterintuitive, but fear and confidence are more intertwined than you might think. Often the very things we fear are the things that hold the most potential for growth. Think about it. Each time you confront a fear, you're essentially proving to yourself, hey, I can handle this.
It's like that saying, everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear. But how do you actually start facing those fears? It can feel so overwhelming.
It definitely takes courage, but starting small is key. Instead of trying to conquer your Everest of fears all at once, break it down. If you're afraid of public speaking, maybe you start by sharing your ideas in a smaller, less intimidating group, or practicing with close
I
friends.
can see how those small victories could snowball into something much bigger.
Ah,
It's about building that confidence muscle one step at a time.
exactly. As you continue to face those fears, you'll likely find the fear itself starts to shrink, not because it's magically gone, but because your confidence in handling challenges has grown.
That makes sense. The bigger our confidence grows, the smaller those fears seem. It's like shifting the balance of power within yourself. Is there anything else we should keep in mind when it comes to facing those fears?
Don't forget, fear is a natural human emotion. Everyone experiences it. It's okay to ask for support. A trusted friend, family member, mentor, whoever you trust, having that support system can make all the difference.
That's such a good point. Sometimes we try to be superheroes when really we just need someone in our corner cheering us on. We've covered so much ground already. Reframing failure, facing our fears, the power of our inner circle. This whole deep dive is like a confidence cocktail. But before we move on, I want to go back to something we touched on earlier, the impact of our surroundings on our confidence. Can we dig into that a bit more?
Absolutely. Our environment plays a much larger role in shaping our thoughts and feelings than we often realize. Surrounding yourself with positivity is like giving your confidence a vitamin boost.
So it's not just about the people, but also the physical spaces we're in, the information we consume, all of it, right?
Exactly. Think about how you feel when you walk into a bright, airy room compared to a dark, cluttered one. Our physical spaces impact our mood and energy levels, which directly affects our confidence.
I totally get that. So in addition to curating a positive inner circle, it sounds like paying attention to our physical environment is key. What about the information we consume? How does that tie in?
Think of the information we consume as food for thought. Are you feeding your confidence junk food or nourishing it with healthy choices? Surrounding yourself with positive, uplifting content, whether that's books, podcasts, movies, or even social media, can have a remarkably positive effect on how you see yourself.
You know, you're preaching to the choir here.
Hmm.
If we're constantly bombarded with negativity, it's bound to take a toll. But if we're intentional about consuming content that inspires us, reminds us of our potential, that's a whole different ballgame.
You've got it. And don't underestimate the power of surrounding yourself with beauty, whether that's nature, art, music, anything that sparks joy and inspiration. Beauty has this amazing ability to uplift us, remind us of the good in the world, which is incredibly confidence boosting.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here. We've got our internal strategies, that positive self-talk, reframing setbacks, and then these external factors to consider. Our environment, the people around us, the information we're taking in. It's like a holistic approach to building confidence.
Exactly. It's about building an ecosystem that supports and nourishes your confidence from all angles.
Speaking of nourishing, earlier we talked about setting achievable goals. Can we unpack that a bit more? How do we find that sweet spot between challenging ourselves and setting realistic expectations?
That's a great question. It's a balancing act. If our goals are too easy, we don't experience the growth and satisfaction that comes with pushing ourselves. But if they're too ambitious, it can lead to feeling overwhelmed. One helpful approach is to think of the Goldilocks principle.
Goldilocks principle. You've piqued my interest. Tell me more.
It's all about finding what's just right. With goal setting, it's about aiming for challenges that stretch you slightly beyond your comfort zone, but aren't so far out of reach they feel impossible.
I like it. So how do we determine what just right looks like for each of us?
It's about understanding your starting point. Reflect on your skills and experience. What are you already good at? What are you curious to learn more about? Once you have that clarity, you can set goals that build on your strengths while pushing you to expand your horizons.
Makes sense. So it's not about comparing ourselves to others, it's about focusing on our own journey, setting goals that are both exciting and attainable for us.
You got it. And remember, it's okay to adjust those goals as you go. Life throws curveballs. The key is to stay flexible and adapt while staying true to your overall direction.
This is all so insightful. I feel like I'm gaining a whole new perspective on confidence and how to build it. But before we wrap up this section, I want to circle back to a crucial piece of the puzzle: self-care. How does taking care of ourselves, both mentally and physically, impact our confidence levels?
Ah, self-care, the secret sauce. Think about it. When you're running on fumes, exhausted and depleted, how confident do you feel?
I'll be honest, those are not my most confident moments. I'm way more prone to negativity and self-doubt when I'm not taking care of myself.
Exactly. When we prioritize self-care, getting enough sleep, nourishing our bodies, moving in ways that feel good, even taking time to unwind and recharge, we're essentially sending ourselves a powerful message. I am worthy of care and attention, and that, my friend, is a major confidence booster.
Okay, so prioritizing my well-being isn't selfish. It's an act of self-love that actually fuels my confidence. Love that reframing. Is there anything else about self-care that our listeners should know?
You know, it's interesting. We often equate confidence with this idea of like being perfect, like having it all figured out, never messing up. But in reality, true confidence comes from embracing our imperfections,
Oh, wow.
acknowledging our limitations, and like showing up as our authentic selves, even when we feel a little wobbly inside.
So it's less about trying to become some flawless, fearless version of ourselves and more about like accepting who we are right here, right now, flaws and all.
Precisely. And the more comfortable we become with ourselves, the more confident we become overall. It's almost like that self-acceptance creates this strong foundation for real, unshakable confidence to grow.
That makes a lot of sense because when you're comfortable in your own skin, you're not so worried about what others think. You're free to pursue your goals and passions authentically, and that just radiates confidence.
Exactly. And that authenticity is magnetic. It draws people in and allows you to connect with them on a deeper level.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. We've covered so much ground today, from the power of positive self-talk and setting achievable goals to the importance of surrounding ourselves with positivity and prioritizing self-care. I feel like I've gained a whole new toolkit for cultivating confidence in my own life.
I'm so glad to hear that. And remember, confidence is a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs, moments of doubt, and times when those pesky fears resurface. But the key is to keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself.
I love that. It's a good reminder that it's not about reaching some finish line where we're suddenly overflowing with confidence 24/7. It's about embracing the journey and all the twists and turns along the way.
Exactly. And as you navigate those twists and turns, remember to celebrate your progress no matter how small. Those small wins add up and fuel your confidence along the way.
This deep dive has been incredible. As we wrap up, is there one final nugget of wisdom you'd leave our listener with on their journey to boost their confidence?
Ask yourself this. What's one small step I can take today to act with more confidence? Maybe it's striking a power pose before a big meeting or speaking up more in group settings. Notice the difference it makes, no matter how subtle, and build from there.
I love that. It's such a simple, actionable challenge to carry with us.
Well, there you have.
Another insightful deep dive complete. Remember, confidence is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed and strengthened over time. So go out there and embrace the journey.